Hey guys, I'm doing a little bit of a paid review. This came in for Charles, and he says, Arch, please do an Archie explodes on the following watch. Please increase the speed to 1.5% for added comic effect. I give nice tip for good service. And the watch he sent me a link to it, which was a bit strange, but it's actually a Grand Seiko. And I got to be totally honest with you, as much as you might want to hate this watch and this brand, it's actually pretty nice. Pretty nice. It's a Grand Seiko SBGW259. And it's a very simple, elegant type timepiece. It's the 60th anniversary of Grand Seiko was marked by the recreation of the 1960 original. So this is quite a nice watch itself there. It's, I got to tell you, it's very, very, the case is kind of, it's very, reminds you of a vintage Omega from that sort of time period, or a, the other thing you could say is that it reminds you of an Omega. A lot of watches from that time period had that sort of shape to them, and I think it is actually quite a nice watch. There's no question of that. Retro, yep, of course, because it is of course a reissue. And the sad thing is with this watch, I got to be totally honest with you, I'm at the moment, I'm a little disappointed with Grand Seiko. Hear me out. So a friend of a friend of a friend who had a Grand Seiko agency. He was an agent. I don't want to name them all, but basically he was selling Grand Seiko for a number of years, and they decided to pull the agency off him because they decided to set up their own boutique. And I mean, these watch brands, they complain that customers behave in unprofessional ways, flippers and, people like that. But these watch companies themselves, they behave in just the same sort of despicable ways, ungentlemanly ways. So what did they do when they took his agency? Instead of coming out and saying, look, we're really sorry, we're going to do this, or no, they just sent an email. I mean, it's so immature. So I got to be honest with you, with Grand Seiko, I'm a little bit angry. Well, I'm very angry. They just don't seem to have the business. They just pulled it. They just pulled the agency, which I think is pretty damn nasty. Pretty damn nasty that someone's built this brand in that market and you just pull it by an email. But getting back to this point, this particular watch here. So it's a 1960s reissue. The case is actually titanium. It's 38 millimeter diameter, 10.9 mil thickness. It's on crocodile leather strap. It's got a 3-fold clasp with push button release. It's using the caliber 9S64. It's a manual wind movement with 72-hour power reserve. Accuracy is plus or minus 3 seconds per day. It's not really water resistant, splash resistant. It's 24 jewel, see-through case back. And interestingly enough, the original 1960 version of this watch was actually, it was 35 mils, so they've increased it to 38 mils, which that goes in line with the bigger sizes there, which I get it. Yeah, 38 is probably a nice size to have this piece. Is it look? It's a lot of money in Australia. It's just under 12,000 Australian dollars, which that's not cheap. That definitely is not cheap. It's definitely not a cheap watch there. It's yeah, it's expensive. It's very expensive. It's an expensive watch, but it's one of those things there. This is how it goes. There is a gold version, which is, this is absolutely ridiculous, 43,000 Australian. That's SBGW260. How do they equate that at $43,000? The release of the 2020 January release in January 2021. It's a reissue of the first Grand Seiko from 1960. Yeah, I got to be honest with you. I think that's probably a bit on the crazy side. Yeah, that is actually quite expensive. There is a platinum one for 57,000, which when you look at this type of piece, you've got to compare it to, say, a Patek 5196. I think the steel at 11,950. This is Aussie dollars, so it's about 76 to the dollar. So US prices would be about 25% cheaper than that. I think that's kind of the titanium version is kind of, it's expensive, but it's nice. The gold one, in my opinion, is ridiculous, 43, when you consider you can get a Patek 5196. I know it's a different animal. Patek is not a limited edition, but I mean, a Patek is better than a Grand Seiko. But obviously they know what they're doing there. And I don't know about an Archie Explodes. You know, sometimes I got to be honest with you. I make these videos. My videos are very true to life. I make these videos from the heart. It's not an act. It's from the heart. And I suppose at the moment I just feel sad. Sad that Grand Seiko stabbed somebody I know in the back by just removing their agency via an email. I mean, it's pretty poor form. And I mean, that disappoints me. So I'm not really, I don't know about an Archie Explodes. I think it is a great watch. It is a beautiful watch. Is it worth the money? Possibly. I think the titanium one would be better, best value there, instead of the gold one's ridiculous, and the platinum is even more well, I suppose the gold's the most ridiculous. You'd expect platinum to be a bit more expensive. But I suppose I'm just disappointed. I am disappointed with Grand Seiko, the way they want customers to behave, but they behave pretty nasty themselves. The only reason I mention it because a friend of a friend told me the story, and I thought it was pretty disappointing indeed. But I suppose that's the corporate world, guys. So, Charles, that's the video. I'm just don't want to make an Explodes. I make these videos from the heart. I can't fake it or pretend. It is what it is. So, look, thank you, Charles, for getting me to do the review. Guys, like, subscribe, and tell your friends. Don't forget, I can't survive on Google Ads alone. I need your support. Without your support, I can't survive full time. Please get a paid review done. Details down in the description. And guys, I will see you in the next one. Please be good. Remember, this YouTube space that I operate in, it's very, very hard to survive. It's very tough niche. So any support you can throw me really does help. Okay, guys, I will see you in the next one. Hi guys, ArchieLuxury, and who do I recommend in America? In America, who do I recommend for quality pre-owned wristwatches? David SW, David SW, David SW. Go to davidsw.com. He is the best, the greatest pre-owned dealer in all of the United States of America. David SW, David SW, David SW.
Hey guys, ArchieLuxury. Who do I recommend for watches in Brisbane and Sydney? Vintage Watch Co. That's correct. Vintage Watch Co. in Brisbane Arcade in Brisbane and the Strand Arcade in Sydney. Vintage Watch Co. Brisbane and Sydney. Ronnie, I've known him since the late 90s. Ronnie is a top bloke. Luke is a great guy. Vintage Watch Co. That is who I recommend in Australia. Check out Vintage Watch Co. and the guys' amazing range of watches. They also do service and repairs. Vintage Watch Co. That is where the Pontiff goes. You know, some of my Pateks came from Vintage Watch Co. That's right, guys. Vintage Watch Co.